Welcome back to another episode of the R+R Show. I'm Ronen, this is Russ, and we are excited to once again feature one of our great ZuZu menu items and get you comfortable making it at home.
Today we're going to be making these sticky, icky Iberico pork ribs. One of my personal favorites on the menu. These ribs are fatty and delicious and seasoned up really, really well. Let's jump right into this. So you got kind of a spare rib here. Main thing you want to do is make sure we kind of peel this back skin off. It is can be very tough, and it's not going to be the best thing. So best way to do it, score a bone so you can kind of get underneath this. Take a towel that's dry, and you're just going to kind of peel that back. Okay. Sometimes you got to kind of work with this thing a little bit, and if there's a little bit left over, it's not going to kill anybody, but definitely something you want to get off of there. Kind of makes your ribs eat just a little bit better. There we go. All right. Okay, perfect. Next up, let's talk a little bit about our seasoning. Okay, we don't trim any of the fat on this. That will all render out, and then when we pick those up, a lot of this will just become soft and edible and delicious.
What kind of rib do you have here?
This is a spare rib. So similar to the baby back, but it's got a little bit of the extra on it and a little of that extra flap meat on the top. So delicious, a little meatier. We wanted to kind of make sure that people get a good bite on each rib. The seasoning here, we're gonna take a little salt first. We're gonna hit our salt kind of just aggressively over the top. I'm not gonna season the underside because, and I'll explain that later, but our sauce has a lot of soy and some different things in it, and we don't wanna get too heavy on that. Our seasoning, I kind of broke that down, and look, I'm not gonna give you all my secrets here, but I'll say turmeric, pink peppercorn, Japanese 7-spice or togarashi, ground ginger, and then this is our house chef's blend, which has about 22 different ingredients in it.
Can you whisper into my ear all 22?
No, I can't.
Got it.
Black pepper, green pepper, white pepper, pink pepper, Szechuan pepper, dehydrated green chilies, and a whole list of other stuff. This is what we use for our burgers, our steaks. It's kind of our house signature spice blend. So that's kind of our mix here. We're gonna take that, and now we're gonna get real aggressive. We're gonna hit that all over the top. Just make sure we get everything covered really, really nice. Any barbecue guy will tell you, do not rub it in. You don't need to rub it all around. Give it a little pat. Make sure stuff's sticking on. You need a little more? Need a little more. Awesome thing about turmeric is your hands will be bright yellow by the time you're done with it.
Smells so good.
Then we're gonna flip that over. We're definitely gonna get our underside here. Again, pat that in, make sure it kind of sits in. So down in the kitchen when we do these, we let the seasoning kind of sit on here. For time purpose, we're gonna kind of move to the next step. Ronen, you got me a piece of tinfoil real quick?
Yes, chef.
You can let this sit on here for 30, 40 minutes. Let it kind of soak into the meat and kind of absorb in. I'm gonna lift that up. Boom, that's perfect. We lay our ribs in. We're gonna kind of make like a loose little package here. Fold in the ends. Be careful, try not to puncture the foil on the bottom. You don't want the fat kind of running out. I'm just gonna kind of tighten this up. Seal that up as best I can without kind of going too aggressive. I'll grab my little pan here. Throw that in my pan, and we're gonna go right into the oven, 300 degrees. And these are gonna go for a good amount of time, maybe an hour and a half. Check them. Now again, they're not gonna be unedible if you go too long. They'll start falling apart on you. Bones will be sliding out, stuff like that, which that meat is gonna be extra delicious and tender, but you don't wanna go too far. I like to kind of eat them off the bone, all right? Next up, we're gonna make our kimchi or our funky daikon radish and a little bit of a glaze.
Sounds good.
All right, we're gonna get into some, we call it funky daikon radish. It's kind of a kimchi, like a play on a kimchi daikon radish.
Okay.
Pairs great with this. First thing, Ronen, why don't we start chopping up some ginger and garlic?
Okay.
And nice and fine. It's just gonna kind of add to this kimchi marinade. I love these flavors. It's got such a strong kind of balance. You know, the ribs end up being kind of sweet, fatty, delicious, and you've got this kind of like funky umami bomb that kind of comes in that you get a little bite of here and there. Super duper delicious. In this recipe, we have a little pineapple juice. We're gonna use a little bit of fish sauce, sugar, mirin, or sake, whichever one you wanna use, a little drop of soy, a little sesame oil, this beautiful ginger garlic, and then, you know, the pineapple juice is kind of what reacts this thing. Pineapple juice has an enzyme that starts breaking things down, so that daikon radish will stay crunchy, but it'll kind of just soften a little bit and not be so kind of hot and fresh in your mouth. Perfect on the ginger right there. That's great.
If you wanted to make it sweeter or spicier, anything you would adjust?
Right. We do add a little bit of Korean chili paste to this. We thin that out with just a little water to kind of, so it's not so sticky. But you could add fresh red jalapenos or red Fresno chilies. You could add Thai chilies. If you really want to kick it up, you could go real spicy on this.
Absolutely. And Thai chili.
You know, it'll kind of absorb in and it'll soften that spice a little, but depending on what you use, yeah, you could go real hot with this for sure. That's perfect on the radish. We're gonna take that radish, we're just gonna slice it up, kind of a thick coin. We don't wanna go too thin or this will just kind of turn to mush. I like to go a little thick because I like to have some crunch there. And then, you know, this will sit in your fridge in the kimchi kind of marinade for, you know, a couple weeks at least. You know, the longer it goes, the stronger it gets, the better it gets, in my opinion. Those look great. Let's go ahead and just cut those in half. Perfect. Go right into that bowl. Great. Perfect. Now we're gonna take that. Again, we're gonna take our little bit of our Korean chili paste. We thin that out with just a little bit of water, and we're gonna pour that over the top. A little bit of sesame oil. A little bit of soy. I'm not gonna put all that in, maybe just half of that. Fish sauce, one of my favorites. This gives it that kind of funky smell and taste. You're like, what is that little flavor in there? But man, it's good. Little rice vinegar. Pineapple juice. Again, this is the key. You could use fresh pineapple. You chop up a little pineapple, throw it in the blender, zip it up, pour it right over the top. I recommend not just mixing this with your hand because your hands will be funky all day. All right.
You can smell it.
Again, we're just gonna let that kind of marinate on and let this sit.
I think one of the things that's important is, you know your ingredients, but get the kind of like your mise en place all set before you go, because there's so many different parts, and it's also cool to take pictures of it and show off all your friends all the cool ingredients you have.
100%. So we're gonna let this kind of chill, sit over to the side. Next up, we're gonna get into our umami sauce that goes over our ribs and kind of put this thing together.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, let's get into our ribs. I think they're gonna be money coming out of the oven here. We got our foil. This thing's hot. Make sure you're nice and careful with this. You can feel that they're soft and tender. So that oil's coming out of there nice and yellow from our rub and that turmeric. We're gonna kind of just release some of that steam out. You can see those ribs are just looking money right there. Ronen, I'm gonna just ask you to, I'm gonna pick these up. Don't do this at home, everybody. Be careful. All right, beautiful rack of ribs. Again, they're not falling apart, but you can tell they are real tender. That meat's coming right off of the bone. We're gonna take our knife. Down here towards the smaller end, I like to cut those a little bit bigger, so we'll cut those into like a 2 or 3 bone piece. You get into some of these other ones, you know, it's totally up to you. We're gonna cut these into singles. We'll cut a little bit of a half rack here just to kind of show. So when we do these at the hotel or in the restaurant, we take and we deep fry them to pick them back up so they get a little crispy and they kind of get that hot blast to them, and then we glaze them up.
If you don't have a deep fryer at home.
So I'm gonna show you kind of another way to do this. A little oil in a hot pan. Okay, we're gonna get our ribs. Again, these are nice and juicy, so they are gonna kind of fry, so you might just be careful when you're laying them in there. All that water and oil, just gonna kind of jump around on you a little bit. But we're gonna go into that pan. Make sure nothing's sticking too much. Now I'm gonna turn the heat down. I'll take my sauce. I'm gonna hit that all over these ribs. Oh, it's great. Be careful at this point. There's a lot of sugar in this sauce. Definitely don't want anything to burn. We're just gonna move that off the heat. We're gonna move those ribs around just a little bit. Pick up some of that glaze. You see that glaze is just caramelizing on there. See how fast that was? Again, there's no heat to this pan anymore. Be very, very careful at this point. That sugar will burn on you very fast. But look at the glaze and the lacquer going on those ribs. That is exactly what we're looking for. Again, there's soy and some different things in here. Don't feel like you gotta reduce it too far or anything crazy like that. We're literally just trying to pick it up onto those ribs and kind of get everything real sticky and nice. All right.
Ready to be plated?
Yeah, next up, let's get this thing plated, man. These look good. All right, guys, we got our sticky ribs here. Let's go ahead and get these things on a plate, man. They look fantastic here. I'm gonna take this first one as kind of a base down on the plate. I'm using tongs for this now because that sugar is like molten lava coming out of here, which is exactly what you want. But please be careful. Do not be a hero and try to get your hands on those because they're hot. Okay, we got a beautiful little stack here, nice and full. I'm gonna set that one right on top.
There you go, those things look amazing.
Right. We're gonna take that glaze that we had in there and why not just kind of pour that right over the top. Next, we're gonna take our little kimchi radish here. And again, when I said this at the beginning, you got these kind of real sticky, sugary, salty ribs that are tender and fatty and delicious. And when you take these, as you're eating through, you get this kind of like sharp bite of this little kimchi that's kind of crunchy and contrast. And again, it's all about that balance. Ronen, you want to chop me a few little green onions real quick?
Yeah, sure. I'm
going to take a few little radish sprouts here. These things are great. They've got kind of a fresh green. Again, balance in flavors. We've got fatty ribs. We've got that funky daikon. We've got a little bit of fresh green to kind of cut that and brighten it up just a little bit.
Go ahead and hit it.
Go ahead and hit those green onions right over the top. Beautiful. And that is our sticky, icky Iberico pork spare ribs. Kimchi daikon radish, a little bit of radish sprout. Amazing. I can't wait to get into those.
Russ, those look amazing. Thank you again for joining us here at the R+R Show. Hope you had fun cooking with us and have a great time while you're at home. Thanks.
Take care, guys.